we've been talking about doing these sorts of things for several years, but in the last 6 months, we've been working wholeheartedly to try to talk about an issue that is related to digital pay and e-commerce. So all of you here, we are all excited about CX Pay and what they're offering the island of St. Maarten, especially these local solutions that you all desperately need. But one of the things that the U.S. Consulate wanted to do was to investigate how we can open up the American market to you here on the islands to help you expand what we heard Christy and Jeff and others talk about, the market, Shyla. We want you to have access to the American market. And of course, that means that we need to have an e-commerce digital pay solution that would allow you to do that. As Margie mentioned, we at the Consulate, we're not a fintech company. We didn't know what exactly we needed to do, but we knew we needed to reach out to partners and find a solution. So last November, when we were here on St. Maarten, we had a beautiful dinner with several people who are here talking about this issue. And we started thinking about who's out there who could help us. And thankfully, one of our close contacts back in Washington went to Stanford University and knew about a competition there to access the students, the incredible talent that's at Stanford University to address important problems. And so I partnered with IFE to make sure that we could try to take part in this competition and have a shot at getting students to look at our problem. So we traveled together to California. We went to the Stanford University campus and we gave our pitch. No more than 2 minutes. We made it to the semifinals, so that's how we got to the physical presentation. And we had to do it 2 nights in a row. And let me tell you a couple of things that made me so excited to be standing up with IFE. First of all, it's very important for us that we have an inclusive approach and we focus on diversity. So I did not want to stand up and talk about the islands because I am from the United States. It was so important to me and to Margie that someone who's lived this experience on the islands can stand with us and explain wholeheartedly what they're going through in order to be an inclusive representation. Secondly, one of the things that I thought was most interesting about our...
Hi, everyone. We're a group of Stanford students who have been working with...
So to all of you... especially all the women out here, there's been so many good ideas and suggestions from our colleagues here. Let's always lift each other up and learn from one another, because let me tell you, standing up there with IFE, I was so proud that we are breaking into this space and bringing a solution for the island. So at the end of the day, we did not get selected for the finals. And you might be thinking, okay, well, how are you here then? Our pitch was so inspirational for students that they decided they wanted to work on it anyway and created their own independent study. That's how much they cared about this problem and what's facing you. So today we have the privilege of hearing from them about how they looked at this issue and what they came up with. And to set the stage a little bit for the solution that they have, we wanted to use existing technology. So our main target audience when we were thinking about this were the small and micro businesses. So it's all well and good when you have a storefront and you might be, more of a medium enterprise, but when you're 1 or 2 people trying to get a business going, some of these things might seem too daunting. So we wanted to create a platform that blends easily into existing platforms and offers a simple way for you to get started that doesn't necessarily include the banks and the regulations, just what's out there that we could do. So we told them to dream big. I took off my diplomat hat and I just said, hey, let's forget about everything and just what can you come up with for us? And I think you all will be very impressed with what they designed and what we hope at the end of this demo, we have them joining us live. We hope that you can ask all kinds of questions and help them, because just like David was doing with CX Pay, this is a demo space. And so we want to make sure that this has legs, that it's something that can actually be used. So if you have critical thoughts, feedback, we're very excited to hear that. And also if you have other use cases that you see, please share that with us at the end, because I know the students are going to be, and now they're not students, sorry, they graduated. So the graduates of Stanford University who are working on this problem are going to want to hear from you. So thank you so much for your attention. And without further ado, let's go ahead and play the video so you can see their demo.
And Kristen from the United States Department of State for the last couple of months on helping to empower the next wave of financial freedom in the Dutch Caribbean. For all of us, we come from different backgrounds in emerging markets and have suffered similar problems with payment solutions in our own countries. And so when we heard about the problems in the Dutch Caribbean, we felt that we had some experience to draw on, as well as technical and financial experience, to try and bring together a solution that could help empower different entrepreneurs in the region. So for the last few months, we spent time talking to different entrepreneurs and stakeholders in the ecosystem, better understanding the unique challenges to the Dutch Caribbean, and then trying to build out a solution, which we're going to present to you today. Today, we present to you Daffy. This was made in collaboration with Stanford University and the United States Department of State. Let's start with a scenario that's unfortunately all too common for some of you. We have Carlos who wants to buy a pair of shoes, but really could be any item. Luckily for Carlos, Maria is a merchant who sells those shoes, and she has a nice Shopify website for her store. That's all good and dandy, except there's one small problem. Carlos is in Cupertino, California in the United States, and Maria is in St. Maarten. And so when Carlos visits Maria's Shopify website, he sees that the only way to pay for the shoes is through wire transfer. He sees that, gets skeptical, and decides to look elsewhere. And really the same problem exists in other scenarios. For example, when you have an American merchant account and an account on the islands and you want to transfer funds between them. Now that's where Daffy comes in. Instead of telling you about it, however, I want to show you because that's more fun. So here, Carlos is on a demo Shopify website. He's added the shoes to his bag, and he sees the green button and decides checkout with Daffy. He's used Daffy before, so we conveniently save his information for an easier checkout experience. He checks the card information is correct and proceeds to pay. And just like that, payment went through. Now, if you're the merchant, you get to view all the transactions in an interface similar to this, where you can see more details about any transactions that went through Daffy.
Payment rails are the different pathways your money can take to get from point A, your customer, to point B, you, the entrepreneur. At Daffy, we've initially decided to service 4 different payment rails. Those are Western Union, Wise, prepaid cards, and lastly, bank transfers as a fallback. Now, if you'll notice, we surface 2 aspects of each payment rail. Those are the transaction fee and the speed of the transaction. Let me draw your attention to Western Union. You'll notice that Western Union has the highest fees and it takes the longest. But generally what we've found is that payment rails that take the longest time come with the lowest fees. So we give you the flexibility to optimize for what matters to you. Do you need the money now, or do you want to pay the lowest amount of fees? You make the decision, and we will take care of the rest. Now, you may be wondering, how does this work? Is it magic? Well, we appreciate the sentiment if you are thinking that, because that's our goal, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes. We're doing a lot of smart transaction routing, and I won't bore you with the details, but what you need to know is that because we're doing it behind the scenes, you and your customers will have a seamless experience. Lastly, I want to talk about our Daffy guarantee. The first part of the guarantee is that automatically we will always choose the cheapest payment rail for you so that you pay the lowest amount of fees. The second part is, like I said, we give you the flexibility to choose what matters to you. If you need the money now and you're okay with paying a little higher fees, that's cool. You make the decision. We'll take care of the rest. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
So in this scenario that our students, our graduates have put forth, we're really hinging the solution on an e-commerce website like Shopify and trying to create a payment option that looks very similar to anyone from the United States who's looking to pay for something online. That's sort of the inspiration behind it. So we've got our students with us today, and I'm so happy to introduce them. This is Ruslan. We also have Sophie and Nathan on. Can we give them a big round of applause? Does anybody have any questions or ideas? I see Shyla from our venture fund. Shyla?
So one of the things great presentation, kind of short. Would love to have a little bit more information, but how are you getting paid as
I see. I think the broadcast on mine got cut off, but I think the question is just how do you make money? Well, so I guess for us it was kind of an experiment, so that was not the goal. But I envision if this become like a business model, the first thing you would do is basically just take either a small transaction fee, but that for you to have a sustainable business, that means there's got to be a lot of volume. Another aspect of it would be partnerships, right? So you're bringing in these, to these existing payment rails, you're bringing them more customers. And so could be, kind of space for collaboration there. But for us personally, we focused on the mission. We wanted to just focus on getting your money from point A to point B. For us, it was more of like an experiment, so we didn't feel comfortable, making money off of that model. But these are some ideas that I would think about if I'm actually trying to make this a sustainable business.
So the question is about access to Daffy. So the goal with Daffy was to create something that would be accessible for you all, not like a PayPal and not like something that doesn't have your island on the drop-down menu, something that is easy to onboard people. So we were focused on the transaction, but I was wondering if Ruslan, if you could speak more to your vision for how easy it will be for people to obtain Daffy, and what does that look like from your perspective as the developer?
Yeah, sorry, that's a great question. I think for us, we want to make it as seamless as possible, and then we kind of focus on Shopify websites, and so we feel like that should be just as easy as adding any Shopify integration, because Shopify has a bunch of payment apps. Unfortunately, none of them focus on the Dutch Caribbean, but hey, we're here to change that. So it should be just as easy as integrated into your Shopify workflow, and then we also provide extra tooling for you to monitor the actual transactions. So seamless as we can, and then it would be just as simple as a button on your website for the you as a merchant, you just add the integration. A consumer who's on your website just clicks that Daffy button, checkout, and then it's just like a regular checkout flow.
So the goal would be to have it integrate with that Shopify ID, that whole login that you already have on a Shopify site. So, and as I mentioned, this is all still in development. And part of the reason why we wanted to bring it to you all is to hear these exact questions. This is so incredibly helpful because we want to see if this thing has legs. We're already partnering with MasterCard and others to see if we can get it moving forward. So thank you for that question. Are there other questions about what this might look like for you?
I have one more question. So the example showed where somebody in St. Maarten was receiving payments. Of course, we need that as merchants to be able to receive payments and expand our broader reach. But would it also be that we can make payments via that as well if we were to purchase merchandise, let's say from foreign manufacturers?
So the question is, would I be able to use that fee within the islands? Is that the question, or?
Yes. So would it be a two-way transaction?
I see. I think currently, like, I'll be honest, we haven't developed that yet, but that is something that we know a lot of people want and need. And so we're still exploring that avenue and adding it. And I think from the developer perspective, there should be a lot of avenues for us to integrate either our own solution or with existing solutions like CXPay and whatnot. So definitely a great question. We don't have it yet, but that's something that's super important to have.
I think our goal is to get access to the American market first, and then see as these new local solutions come up, like CXPay and others, that. But of course, we're excited to collaborate. Always want to collaborate. That's what this is all about. But our main task for us as a team was to figure out how to give you all access to the American market to get money here for you. But all of this is part of the bigger picture that we've been talking about for the whole conference, about how are we going to collaborate to make sure that once you have that money, what then gets it to you, into your wallet to send it to somewhere else. All part of the journey. Any other questions? David would like to make a statement. David from CXPay, come on up.
Okay. Rosalind, good afternoon. Oh, good afternoon. Okay. No, it's still good morning with you. Remember when I mentioned to all of you that not just the collaboration, but the local merchant with the local setup and so forth? Okay. So there's something called a PayFac, payment facilitator. And you need a sponsoring bank. If no sponsor bank comes out of St. Maarten, there is a way, which we are busy with right now with MasterCard, to become a PayFac for the region. So that is in the works. Then Rosalind and the rest of the team can help how to mitigate technology, which, for instance, is not readily available. Payments is not always Visa, MasterCard like we spoke about. But because there is something on the US side, Western Union has ways of getting money through credit cards or through cards. PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, you can do with American setups. And now the collaboration can start how you can quantify on the American side, make it sure to get it onto the Caribbean side. And we're busy right now. So Rosalind, keep it up. Definitely we have to work together.
Thank you. Thanks for that statement. Excited.
Well, if there's not any more questions, then I'll hand it back to Leslie to take us home.
All right, all right, all right. Give it up one more time. Thank you for joining us from where are they again? California.
California.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so amazing to have multiple people working on something that has been a huge issue here on the island. And I'm so glad to see that there are finally some solutions that are being made. Now, you've been here. Yes, of course. Give that a round of applause. Now, here's one thing that I know. You come here. You come to an event, you get all of this information, you get all of this insight and connections. Nothing comes from that unless you